Hey everyone, welcome back to Psychology Life Hacks. Today, we're digging into something that affects us all at some point: procrastination. We've all been there, right? Staring at that to-do list, scrolling through social media, convincing ourselves that the task can wait just a little bit longer. But here's the twist: procrastination isn't about being lazy. It's actually your mind's complex way of coping, of telling you that there's something deeper going on than just putting off a task. So, let's uncover the psychology behind why we procrastinate and, more importantly, explore some science-backed strategies to finally beat it for good. First off, let's bust the biggest myth around procrastination. It's not about time management. If it were, just buying a planner would solve everything, and we'd be super productive 24/7. But procrastination is a bit trickier. It taps into our emotions, our fears, and even our need for instant gratification. One of the biggest culprits behind procrastination is fear of failure. Imagine you're working on a big presentation or an important paper, and suddenly you feel this heavy sense of dread. The task itself might not be so bad, but your mind starts playing this what-if game. What if it doesn't turn out as well as you hope? What if people don't like it? Your mind begins to inflate the stakes, making the task seem like this monstrous challenge. And so, you avoid it, rationalizing that future you tomorrow, maybe next week, will handle it better. But of course, when tomorrow comes, that feeling is still there. Then there's another sneaky element: perfectionism. Now, perfectionism can sound like a great trait who doesn't want to do things well. But it can actually paralyze us when we're so focused on making everything flawless that we can't even start. Perfectionists often hold themselves to unrealistically high standards, and if they don't feel they can meet those standards right away, they'll keep pushing it off. It's almost like an all-or-nothing mindset. Either it's perfect, or it's not worth doing at all. Sound familiar? And let's not forget the instant gratification trap. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort, a phenomenon rooted in the limbic system, the emotional hub of the brain. When we're faced with a challenging or boring task, our brain basically goes, no dopamine here, let's go find something that feels good. So, we scroll through social media, watch another episode of our favorite show, or check out memes. And all those quick rewards provide little hits of dopamine, which is basically like candy for our brain's reward system. Suddenly, that tough task we're avoiding feels even more daunting, while these small, pleasurable distractions keep us hooked. Okay, so now that we've unmasked the inner workings of procrastination, let's talk about solutions. The key to overcoming procrastination is to work with your brain, not against it. One powerful trick is to simply start small. Psychologists call it the Zeigarnik effect, which means our minds are wired to keep track of unfinished tasks. So, if you start even with just a tiny step, you're creating an open loop in your brain. And your brain wants to close that loop, which can actually make you feel compelled to keep going. You don't have to write the whole report or finish the entire project. Just commit to writing the first sentence, or maybe outlining one paragraph. Once you start, you'll find it easier to continue. Another effective approach is what we call the 2-minute rule. This rule says that if you've been putting something off, just set a timer for 2 minutes and begin. It could be organizing a file, responding to an email, or even starting a workout. Psychologically, the barrier to entry becomes lower because you're only committing to a very short amount of time. And often, once you get started, you're already in the flow and you end up doing far more than those 2 minutes. Here's another tip that might surprise you: practice self-compassion. Yes, giving yourself a break. When we procrastinate, we often feel guilty or frustrated, like we're failing at some fundamental level. But beating yourself up only makes the task seem even more emotionally taxing, which increases the chances that you'll continue avoiding it. Studies show that when people are kinder to themselves about their procrastination habits, they're actually less likely to procrastinate. It's kind of like removing the weight of self-criticism, so the task doesn't feel as daunting. And let's talk about visualization. But not just any visualization. Instead of picturing the glorious, shiny end result, visualize yourself in the process of doing the work. Picture yourself typing that email, brainstorming ideas, or organizing your notes. This process visualization can actually make the task feel less intimidating and more doable because you're seeing yourself actively engaging in the steps, not just staring at the finish line from a distance. One more trick: connect to your why. This is all about tapping into intrinsic motivation, which is motivation that comes from within. Ask yourself why the task matters to you. How will completing it benefit you? When you see a task as a stepping stone toward a personal goal or value, it transforms from a burdensome have-to-do into something meaningful and fulfilling. It becomes easier to approach tasks when you feel that personal connection. And of course, there's the Pomodoro Technique. You've probably heard of it, it's a classic. Set a timer for 25 minutes and commit to focusing on just one task during that period. When the timer goes off, give yourself a 5-minute break. This technique is great because it adds structure, and you're only focusing in short, manageable bursts. Plus, by the end of each interval, you'll often find yourself in a groove, which makes tackling the next 25-minute session even easier. Now, this last one might sound a bit counterintuitive. Forgive yourself for past procrastination. Yes, forgive yourself. Research shows that people who are able to forgive themselves for putting off tasks in the past are actually less likely to procrastinate in the future. Think of it as hitting the reset button on your motivation. Every time you forgive yourself, you're letting go of that emotional baggage tied to past procrastination, which frees you to tackle the task with a fresh mindset. Remember, overcoming procrastination isn't about becoming a productivity machine. It's about understanding yourself, your fears, and the deeper reasons why you put things off. Some days will be easier, and some days you might slip up. And that's okay. It's all about progress, not perfection. The beauty of these psychology-backed strategies is that they're not just quick fixes, they're about creating a healthier relationship with your goals and tasks over time. You're building habits that help you work with your mind rather than against it. So, the next time you catch yourself putting something off, remember these tools. Start small, show yourself some compassion, visualize the process, find your why, and forgive any slip-ups along the way. You'll be surprised how much lighter and more manageable those looming tasks will start to feel. Thank you so much for tuning into Psychology Life Hacks. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that button for more insights into the psychology of everyday life. And hey, let me know in the comments, what's one thing you've been putting off, and which of these tips are you going to try first? Let's work together to kick procrastination to the curb.